Guys, I've just found out something incredible, which I've actually made me believe that we might not end the bull cycle as quickly as I've previously predicted, which is actually end of this month. I've said it many times. I think the bull market might end of October, but we have some statistics and some things to talk about which suggest that we might not. And let's look at here quickly the RSI, the relative strength index. And this chart at the bottom, it just tells us whenever Bitcoin is overbought or oversold. Okay, whenever we are above the 90 line, usually we're overbought, and this indicates a top for Bitcoin. And looking at history, we have here the weekly chart for Bitcoin. If we look here, this is all the way in 2013. We've had a high in the RSI, right? The RSI peaked out, and same time we had a top in Bitcoin. Again, a few months later, a high in the RSI, and the Bitcoin price also peaked out. The next time we had a top high in the RSI, again, Bitcoin peaked out. And the same thing goes for the last cycle. We had a top, obviously, in 2021. Let me increase this a bit. We had a top here, RSI topped out, and Bitcoin topped out, double top here, right, in the last cycle. And then this time, it's a bit different. We're seeing a decoupling of the RSI here. So obviously we had the RSI top out about in April 2024, which is when we also hit an all-time high, right? We've just broken 69,000 from the previous cycle. And from that point onwards, actually, the RSI has been going down. You can see it's clearly downward sloping. However, Bitcoin just continues to rise. It doesn't seem to really care what the RSI is doing. We just keep going up for Bitcoin. And we've made another high, and then now we made another high just a few days ago, while the RSI has not made a high. So what does this mean? Well, firstly, very clearly it shows a divergence, right? And usually we say that these bearish divergences suggest that eventually Bitcoin is gonna go down and follow the RSI. But historically seen, we have always had a high when the RSI goes above 90, and we don't have that yet. And on top of that, we can see that the fear and greed index is also neutral at the moment. Usually when we top out, the fear and greed index is in this phase, in the extreme greed phase, and we're currently far away from that. On top of that, the funding rates, the funding fees for Bitcoin are very low. They're 0.001. Now, quickly to explain the funding rates, essentially, when there's a lot of people who go long, who believe that the Bitcoin price goes higher, the funding rate will go higher. So these long position holders who have positions for the price to go higher, they pay the short position holders if it's positive, the funding rate. And usually Bitcoin always, when Bitcoin tops out, these funding rates are very high. They will be maybe 0.3%. And this is every 8 hours that the long position holders pay the short position holders. And the fact that it's not that high means that we don't have that many people who are long. Because usually at the end of the cycle, everyone is long. Let's look at the fear and greed index. Everyone is in extreme greed. Everyone thinks the price will go higher. As a result, the funding rates are very high, meaning it's expensive to keep your long positions open. And of course, as a result, everyone is long. The RSI is in the overbought zone, but we are not there yet. And also the Google search interest is not that high. So it's an interesting time, and it just shows that Bitcoin is becoming a more mature asset over time, obviously, as we have more ETFs coming in, institutions buying Bitcoin. So I'm really interested to see what will happen and how much higher we will go for Bitcoin. But I still believe that we're gonna go down eventually. We can't just make up a new hypothesis because we've always been going in these cycles. But it might last a bit longer until potentially the end of the year. So I would just keep holding the positions open, sell them step by step as we make new highs, sell a bit. But yeah, don't sell it all at the moment. And that's it for today. See you guys. Hope you guys like the Donald Duck image there on the left. But anyway, see you. Bye.